Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about a huge shift in parenting, one that moves away from those constant daily battles and toward building something way more important, your child's mental fitness. And it all starts with a moment that I promise you every single parent knows all too well.
You know the scene. It's the morning. You're trying to get out the door. You've asked once, twice, maybe 3 times. Please, just put your shoes on. And nothing. So you do what works, right? Your voice gets a little louder. You start counting to 3. Maybe you threaten to take away the tablet. And boom, it works. The shoes are on. You think, yes, I won. But what if I told you that in that moment, you weren't actually teaching them to listen?
This idea is a total game changer. See, every time we have to escalate to get our kids to do something, we're accidentally teaching them that the first few requests don't really count. You're training them to wait for your stress level to go up. They're learning to rely on your freakout instead of their own ability to just get things done. And this, well, it gets to the heart of a big misunderstanding we all have about discipline.
We tend to use the words obedience and discipline like they're the same thing. But honestly, they're kind of opposites. Obedience, that's external. That's when your kid follows instructions because you're standing right there making sure they do it. It fires up their stress response and they react to avoid getting in trouble. But real discipline, that's an internal compass. That's them being able to manage themselves even when you're not in the room. It's not about reacting to you, it's about building a powerful skill inside themselves.
And that brings us to this new goal, a major shift that's coming out of all the latest research. Instead of constantly chasing obedience, what if our goal was to build what experts are now calling mental fitness?
So, what is mental fitness? Well, think of it like physical fitness. You don't just go to the doctor when you're sick, right? You exercise, you try to eat well to stay healthy. It's a proactive approach. Mental fitness is the exact same idea, but for our brains. It's about building psychological strength before problems arise. And this isn't just some nice-sounding theory, it's grounded in some serious science. The latest research from top-tier journals, I'm talking the Journal of Child Psychology and Psychiatry,
And even places like Nature Communications, they're all pointing to the same idea. This isn't a fad from a parenting blog.
It's a framework built on what we now know about the brain. So, what we're really talking about is a scientifically backed workout plan for your kid's mind, and it's built on 3 core skills. So let's jump into the first skill in our mental fitness workout. And this one might actually surprise you, because it has nothing to do with talking or thinking your way through a problem. It all starts with the body. We're talking about the skill of calming your own physiology. So how do scientists even measure this? Well, one of the key metrics is something called heart rate variability, or HRV. The easy way to think about it is this. A low HRV means your nervous system is kind of rigid, stuck on high alert. A high HRV, on the other hand, means your body is flexible and resilient. It can face a stressor, like a tough puzzle or a fight with a friend, and then quickly bounce back to a calm state.
And this is a really big deal. I mean, look at this 2024 study. It found a direct connection between a preschooler's HRV and all the skills they need to actually do well in school. A calm, flexible nervous system is literally the foundation for being able to focus, to not grab that toy from another kid, and just to be ready to learn.
Okay, so once the body is calm, we can move on to skill number 2, which is all about actively building the brain. We're talking about the executive functions. That's kind of like the CEO of the brain that's in charge of focus and planning and self-control. And the best way to build it is probably not what you think. So researchers recently did this huge review of a ton of different studies, and the results are pretty mind-blowing. They found that things like running, climbing, and balancing, just pure physical challenges, had a significantly higher impact on a kid's cognitive skills than programs that tried to mix physical and mental tasks together. It seems like the intense focus required to master a purely physical skill is one of the best workouts you can give the brain's CEO.
And the payoff for building this cognitive control is massive. A 2026 mindfulness study found that more than half of the improvement kids showed in managing their emotions came directly from strengthening these cognitive skills. It's like they learned how to see a feeling bubble up without having to get totally swept away by it.
So we've calmed the body. We've built the brain. Skill number 3 is all about what we use to fuel this whole system. And it turns out the engine for mental fitness isn't in the head. It's actually in the gut.
Get ready for this number because it's staggering. 90%. 90% of our body's serotonin, the famous happy chemical, is produced in our gut. There's this superhighway of communication between the gut and the brain, and what's happening down there directly impacts our mood and our mental health up here.
And it all starts shockingly early. This huge study from UCLA is a wake-up call. It shows that the health of a child's gut bacteria at just 2 years old can actually help predict their emotional health years and years later. We are literally laying the foundation for our kids' long-term resilience with the food we put on their plates.
Okay, so that's the science. We need to calm the body, build the brain, and fuel the mind. But the big question is, how in the world do we actually do that in the middle of our chaotic everyday lives? Well, the answer might come from a really powerful Japanese concept for discipline.
It's a word called Shitsuke, and the literal translation is teaching the body. Now, notice what it's not. It's not controlling behavior or demanding obedience. The whole idea is to let the body learn self-regulation through practice, almost like learning to ride a bike. It's a framework for building that internal compass we talked about at the very beginning.
And here it is. This is the practical 4-step training plan. Shitsuke is built on these 4 pillars that directly train all 3 of those core skills we just covered. This is the how-to. First up, routine as neural architecture. So instead of a constant stream of you nagging, you use predictable visual routines. When a routine gets repeated over and over, the brain literally builds automatic pathways for it. You're building their brain to handle transitions without a fight simply because it knows what's coming next. You're not nagging, you're building habits. Second, responsibility as competence. Now this means giving kids real, contributing jobs. And I'm not talking about chores for an allowance. I'm talking about tasks where they feel genuinely needed. A 3-year-old putting napkins on the table, a 5-year-old helping fold washcloths. That feeling of being competent and helpful fuels their internal drive and builds their brain's capacity for taking initiative. Third, and this one is so critical, modeled calm as regulation. Your calm is contagious. It's a biological fact. When you can stay calm, your child's nervous system literally borrows from yours and learns how to calm itself down. This is how you help them practice calming their body. You simply cannot yell a child into self-regulation. You have to show them how it's done. And finally, number 4, watchful waiting or memoru. This might be the hardest one of all. It's the intentional choice to not jump in and solve their problems right away. They're struggling with a zipper, they forgot their library book. When you just wait for a second, you give their brain the space it needs to identify the problem and try to find its own solution. This is how you build a truly resilient brain.
So really, it all comes down to this one fundamental question. Every single interaction we have with our kids is a choice. Are you going to step in and be their external controller, managing their behavior for them? Or are you going to step back and be their internal coach, giving them the tools and the practice they need to build their own mental fitness that'll last a lifetime? The choice is ours.